My father's world was built of things you could touch. Steel and wood and concrete. His hands were maps of hard work. I was a girl with a quiet soul. I watched him and I learned a different kind of strength. Not the loud kind. The kind that holds up the sky. My mother's strength was in her voice. A soft song in the dark. A whisper that could calm any storm. I carried both of them with me. The solid ground and the gentle rain. The road away from home was a long straight line. The bus window was a cool surface against my forehead. I watched my town shrink into a memory. A collection of tiny lights swallowed by the night. I was not just a daughter leaving. I was a promise being kept. A question seeking its answer. The future was a blank page and I was ready to write my first word. The training ground was a shock of noise and motion. The drill instructor was a force of nature. His voice was not a sound, it was a physical presence. It reached inside you and found the parts that were still soft. The parts that were afraid. It carved them away. We became a single entity. A machine of moving parts. We breathed as one. We moved as one. Our individuality was a luxury we could no longer afford. My boots learned the weight of the earth. My shoulders learned the weight of the pack. My rifle became my shadow. I knew its weight, its smell, its every part. It was not a weapon of war. It was a tool of focus. A lesson in responsibility. The woman in the bunk next to mine became my sister. We did not choose each other. The universe chose for us. We shared everything. The fear that tasted like metal in the back of your throat. The exhaustion that felt like a deep ocean current pulling you under. The small triumphant joy of a perfect drill. We polished our boots in silence. A shared meditation. We wrote letters home that said everything and nothing. We were being unmade and remade. The girl I was stepped aside. She made room for the soldier I was becoming. The plane ride to the desert was a long hum of anxiety and resolve. The light that greeted us was different. A blinding white sun. The heat was a heavy blanket. The air smelled of dust and diesel and something ancient. The world was painted in shades of tan and brown. The sky was a vast and empty blue. We were small beneath it. We were insignificant and yet we were everything. My first patrol was a lesson in sensory overload. The weight of my gear was a familiar comfort. The world outside the wire was a living, breathing creature. The streets were a chaotic dance of life. Children kicking a dented can. Old men sipping sweet tea in the shade. Their eyes held stories we could not understand. And beneath it all was the hum of danger. A constant low-level threat like a wrong note in a symphony. Your senses became hyper-alert. The way a shadow fell. A sudden silence. A car moving too slow. Your heart learned a new rhythm. A steady, persistent beat against your ribs. We were not just soldiers. We were builders sometimes. We helped raise a school from the dust. A small square building of hope. I remember a little girl with bright eyes and a missing tooth. She brought me a cup of water. Her small hands were careful. She looked at my uniform, my helmet, my weapon. She was not afraid. She looked into my eyes and she smiled. In that moment I was not a soldier. I was just a person. A person helping another person. That memory became a cool stone I carried in my pocket. A touchstone of humanity. Then there was the night the world exploded. A thunder that came from the ground. The concussion hit us like a physical wall. For a second there was only a high-pitched ringing and the taste of dirt. Then training took over. My body moved without my mind commanding it. Shouting. Movement. The sharp smell of cordite filling the air. A floodlight piercing the dust cloud. In the chaotic ballet that followed I saw her. My bunkmate, my sister. She was a medic. She was on her knees in the rubble, her hands pressed against a wound on a young private's leg. Her voice was calm. A steady stream of reassurance. Her hands were sure. In the middle of the chaos she was an island of absolute purpose. I saw the strength my mother had spoken of. The quiet kind. The kind that holds up the sky. The days blurred into weeks. The heat and the dust became a part of us. We wore it like a second skin. We learned to find beauty in the stark landscape. The way the stars looked at night without any city lights to dim them. A billion pinpricks of cold fire. We learned to rely on each other without question. A shared look was a whole conversation. A nod could mean stay alert or I have your back or it will be okay. We were a family forged in fire. A bond written not in blood but in sweat and dust and shared fear. The day I left that place was strangely quiet. I looked back at the dust and the sand. It was no longer just a place of danger. It was a place where I had learned who I was. Where I had been tested and had not broken. I pressed my forehead against the cool window of the transport plane. I closed my eyes and I did not look back. Coming home was the hardest mission of all. The world was too green. Too loud in the wrong ways. The silence in my own head was deafening. I missed the constant hum of the bass. The easy camaraderie. My family welcomed me with open arms and careful words. They saw the uniform but they did not see the change inside. My father wanted to shake my hand like I was a man. My mother wanted to hold me like I was still her little girl. I was neither. I was something in between. A bridge between two worlds. I would wake in the night, my heart pounding. The dream of thunder still echoing in my bones. I would walk through the supermarket and feel my shoulders tense at a sudden noise. The easy laughter of civilians felt like a foreign language. I had a foot in two different worlds and I was losing my balance. I felt like a ghost in my own life. Then I found the water. The ocean. I would go there at dawn. I would sit on the cold sand and watch the tide. The relentless push and pull. The constant change within a perfect cycle. It spoke to me. It said that it was okay to be changed. That the ocean after a storm is still the ocean. It is deeper. It holds new stories in its currents. I started to breathe again. I started to let the soldier and the woman find a way to live together. They were both me. I went back to school. I used the focus the army gave me. The ability to push through exhaustion. To see a task through to the end. I became an engineer. Like my father, I now build things. But I build with a different understanding. I build with the knowledge of what it means to create something that will last. To create something that provides shelter and safety. Now I stand here. The sun is warm on my skin. The waves are a gentle hush. A young girl walks past with her mother. She looks at me. She sees a woman with a straight back and a calm face. She does not see the dreams I carry. The memories I hold. The friends I lost. She does not see the desert or the fear or the long nights. She sees a possibility. A path she might one day walk. And in her eyes I see the whole unbroken line. I see the women who came before me. The nurses in field hospitals. The pilots who towed targets. The code talkers and the mechanics. The ones who fought for the right to serve. To stand on the wall. I see the women who serve today. On ships and in cockpits. In command centers and on the front lines. I see my bunkmate the medic. Her hands still saving lives. Our story is not one of glory. It is a story of duty. It is a story of quiet sacrifice. It is the story of leaving a part of yourself behind in a dusty land so that you can bring a new part home. It is a story of learning that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the determination to move forward even when you are afraid. It is the story of a girl with quiet eyes who learned to march in her backyard. Who became a soldier. Who became a woman. Who became a link in a chain of strength that stretches backward and forward through time. The tide continues its eternal rhythm. The sun begins to dip towards the water. The line of service continues. A new recruit is signing her name. A new soldier is learning the weight of her boots. A new story is just beginning. And it is a story that will never end.